I heard you hawking that loogie earlier.
It's been bad. Like last night, this is going to be TMI, obviously,
I'm here for it.
but so
It's
I
not
was
like anybody's
in,
listening. It's just
right,
us.
just us. I was in bed and, I have like my box of tissue and stuff. And I was like blowing my nose and everything. And then it was just like, I felt something. So I was kind of like,
Oh God. Oh God.
but then it like came out real loose because it was blood.
Oh. Bless your heart. You blew your nose that hard?
Yeah.
Or
I've been
things were
blowing it
just so thin and
yeah.
funky
Yeah.
up there?
And so then it's like dark. I'm like fumbling around Daniel's sleep. I'm like fumbling around in the dark. And then I go in the bathroom and I'm like, why am I still in the dark? Like, close the door and turn on the light. What are you doing?
Don't make this harder on yourself.
Exactly.
That's not a fun cleanup.
No. Welcome to Pushing Past Polite, where we talk about what matters and make the world more just. I'm Kori.
And I'm Laura.
Let's get into it.
So glad you're here. Hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was bleeding, and so I got it to stop, and then I put some like Aquaphor in there, and
in there?
Mm-hmm. Like with a
Q-tip?
Q-tip. Q-tips aren't supposed to go in your ears. Oh my God, I forgot about that.
I still use them, by the way, every day. I
Yeah.
have to. I don't like that water in my ear feeling. Even though
Yeah.
I've had a Q-tip part of it come loose in my ear that has caused me months of weird pain.
If you do use Q-tips, you should just use the baby Q-tips. Because they're like
the thick ones that have,
and then they can't get as far in.
Well, it's not even, I guess that's it. I was gonna say, I hit it and can't quit it. What can I say? I need a Q-tip
Yeah,
in
but
my
it's
life.
like they just like, it just won't even allow you to get as deep.
Yeah. Well, the problem, it wasn't like the whole thing came off. It was just a little bit of cotton.
Right. But
I pushed it in there, I guess.
Exactly.
I think that's your point.
Yeah, that's my point. That's my point. So, but I did use a Q-tip in my nose to lubricate it with some Aquaphor.
I've never thought of doing that.
Yeah.
A new trick. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mm-hmm. And it helped,
I bet it did. If it was so dry that you were getting a nosebleed without even.
And that was like the second one I've gotten.
Away.
I was on FaceTime with my mom, and she was like, "It's bleeding! It's bleeding!"
Joni is freaking out. You're done. You're bleeding out your face.
I was like, "Yeah, guys." She's like, "Stop it!" So I was like, "Mom, I'm moving to get the things. I'm not a magician. I got
Give it a sec. Sorry, you're getting front row seat to this. Did they go home?
Yeah, they left from Charlotte.
Oh.
And they went to Atlanta.
Okay.
And they visited with some of their friends, and they visited with my sister-in-law's parents, my brother's
Clarence's
wife's
parents. Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely.
They live in Atlanta, and I don't know if they've met them before.
Oh, I thought you were implying that they were really good friends and they just hang out.
No, they have another set of friends that live there that they.
But while they were visiting those friends as the anchor, they ventured out to sea.
Yeah, I don't know,
nice.
like because my sister-in-law's mother doesn't fly.
Okay.
And so I don't think she's ever come out west where they live. Right?
Were they at the wedding? Did they see each other at the wedding?
There wasn't really a wedding. They got married at the courthouse.
Love it.
Like my parents made it because they drove. They almost didn't even make it.
It's all right. Listen.
Yeah.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got to meet your parents this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I love them.
They're pretty dope.
Pretty dope. That's an understatement. They're just lovely. Like your dad. I don't know if you know. Did I tell you this? That he came up to me and said, "I just want to thank you for being such a good friend to my daughter." I almost cried.
I'm going to cry now.
I know. It was really sweet. It was really sweet. Like, I mean, they gave me a big hug like they've known me my whole life.
I know.
And sweetest thing. And Joni and I were chatting at the wedding about, how she knew that Chip was the one and the people she had dated before and the kind of leadership. She didn't use that word, but like the leadership that they provided in your friend group and in your community, right? That they were at everybody's game and they were, Mama and Daddy Hamilton, if you know, you need something, we're gonna be there for you. Or
And that was kind of our community. There was like it was like that. We would
Mm.
when we were growing up, you know, we talk about sometimes our church experiences. Ooh,
Hey,
hello.
I see that
Oh,
hair.
hi, hey there.
Kori fixed
Um,
her hair and made it a little more interesting. It was like something about Mary hair.
Right. But it was like that. Like,
Mm.
I there was a big track meet that happens every year called the Mount Sac Relays, and like my pastor would be there.
Wow.
I would have all these people in the stands
Mm.
who were part of like our church family.
Mhm. Mhm.
You
Well, and
know,
and I met some of those people too. So, okay, the reason why Kori and I saw each other and I met her parents is that I went to a wedding of a mutual friend of hers. It's a long story, but
you were life wifing.
I
No,
was
you were.
life wifing. I was doing my entrepreneurial thing, supporting a father of the bride so he could be present, a single dad, right? So he didn't have a partner to think through the day. So we did some preparation ahead of time, and then I wanted him to be freed up to be with his daughter. And so I got to go. I was treated like family, which was so incredibly lovely and generous. And I got to meet with all the people, all your people from your childhood, all your California friends from when you were young, and them talking about little Kori and how she was like this as a little girl. You would, there's no surprise that she is who she is now because we knew her then and she was just like that then. It
Yeah.
was so lovely, just
Yeah.
lovely. So
Yeah.
anyway,
It
I
was
got to,
cool.
and they were talking about, Joni, your mom was talking about how your dad, even though he was a doctor, normally the deal is, well, hey, when I'm off work, I'll come see you. He would block off his calendar and say, I can't see patients from 2 to 4. Kori has a track meet, or I can't do this because Christian's going to be here. And every week he would settle up and set his schedule to make sure they never missed anything.
They were at everything. I mean, he was taking me to practice. You know what I mean? He would leave work in Fontana, drive to Rancho, and then drive back to Fontana or Rialto to take me to basketball practice.
Wow.
You know, he was like, they were very present. We were in all kinds of activities and they were always there.
I feel like they were ahead of their time in that way because that was not the expectation of dads a generation ago, right?
Yeah, but that was the expectation of dads in my house.
Because of mom.
And yeah, and his own dad was very present.
Well, again, all the more they were ahead of their time in
Yeah,
so many
yeah,
ways.
yeah. I never met my dad's father. He passed the March before I was born.
Okay.
But everything I've ever heard about Crow, he's also Clarence. He's the first.
Got it.
And my brother's the third, right? My dad's the
I
second.
didn't even put that together. Yeah, Chip, short for Clarence. That makes sense.
Yeah, Chip off the old block. That's where he got his nickname from.
Cute. So
Mhm.
Clarence original, who was Crow,
Mhm.
Clarence Jr., your dad,
The second,
who's
Chip.
Chip off the old block, and then Clarence the third,
Mhm.
who's
Who's
Clarence,
just Clarence.
who
Mhm.
got his name. He gets to keep
Yes,
that.
he gets to keep it.
No, that's
Yeah.
really impressive because, for my parents, and again, I love my dad. I have no bad feelings, but the way that things worked in my house was that dad worked, right? Dad made the money, mom took care of the kids. And so dad was tired, right, from working. And so dad would go home and decompress while mom would take us to, the swim meets or whatever. I don't really remember my dad being at that. He would come to, like, if I was in a play in high school, like a big performance or a dance recital or something like that, but not the way you're describing, which I think is really special. And it sounds like they did that not only for you and your siblings, but they did that for other kids too in the church, in the
Yeah.
community.
Like, but it was a reciprocation. That's what, like,
Everybody
I
did that
remember
for each other. Is that what
everyone
you're
did that for
saying?
each other. Yeah. Like, I remember me and my mom got in this huge fight when I was like 16. And I like left the house with like the clothes I was wearing and some stuff in a bag. And I walked 3 miles or 5 miles or something to Mom Connie's house.
Oh, who I met this weekend.
Who you
too.
met. And Brandy, who
And
you met.
Brandy. Yeah.
Yeah. But I walked there and I stayed there for like a week.
Oh, wow. You were serious. You were big mad, first of all.
I was big mad.
Big
And I
mad.
mean, so I was like going, I didn't have underwear, nothing. I was going to, they both were going to Cal State Northridge at the time and they were commuting. And so I was going with them to campus and class.
Mm. But your parents knew that Aunt Connie had
Exactly.
you.
It's like as soon as I got to the house, it was, they called and I didn't know that obviously at the moment, but like, Connie called and said, Corey's here. She's fine, whatever.
Yep, we got
And
her.
John was like another dad, and
Mm.
my nickname in high school and stuff was Butterfly. And he always called me his butterfly.
Oh, that is
Mm-hmm.
really sweet.
Mm-hmm. Like,
To have that kind of community ownership of the kiddos, that he had a nickname for you,
mm-hmm,
that's really sweet.
mm-hmm. I still have when they came when I think I was a college student and Brandy and Rashida came to DC for some event and it was in the summer, so my birthday was happening. And they brought me this snow globe with butterflies in it. And I still have it.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's really special.
Yeah.
Well, I understand. I feel like I understand you more meeting your parents. First of all, your mom and you could be twins. And that woman, I mean, you look gorgeous at this wedding. Your mama looked gorgeous at this wedding. Those jeans are good,
Thank
let
you.
me just tell you. Damn. Damn. Y'all look gorgeous. Copy paste. I mean, I'm not afraid of age. I would not be afraid of aging if I were you at all, because damn, she looks gorgeous. She just does. But
And she's been working at it too. Like they've
Huh.
been, yeah.
Well, that
Mhm.
actually makes me feel a little better. It's not like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I just, eat like
No,
crap and here I am.
no, they've been working at it because she was feeling heavy and all the things. And so like they got a trainer, they go to the gym, they've been trying to eat better and they've been trimming down because
Mm.
she turned 70 in August and she wanted to look and feel how she wanted to look and feel going into that. And
Love it.
so,
I love it.
yeah,
Well,
they've been working at it.
I don't have the before picture in my mind, but I see the after. That should be a good Google review for that trainer. But I also feel like I understand you better seeing like that community of people, right? So I was in the room with them before you came in and, you know, saw how lovely they were and how welcoming and kind and all of that. And then you came in and it was like a celebrity got there because of the nature of the reunion, right? You guys live on, some of you on different coasts. Some of them hadn't met your husband, hadn't met your babies. And everybody just scooped up those boys like they were theirs and are taking selfies with your kids. Your poor kids, they'd been up for God knows how many hours. It was like 9 o'clock. They hadn't eaten dinner, but everybody just loved on your family.
And then when we left, they cried. The boys did.
Did they really?
So on Sunday, we did the brunch
Yes.
after, and I have all of these pictures with Auntie Destiny and Auntie Elise, and just like snuggled on them
Oh.
so tight. And Destiny carried G out of the restaurant because he didn't want to let her go.
So sweet. That is
Mhm.
so sweet.
And what makes it even more sweet and special is Destiny and Yuri are the daughters of Tony's late brother.
Yes.
And we never met them.
You had never met them prior, but now because since Ronnie's been gone, that Tony
He's been
enjoys.
gone for a long while. But they lived, it was about mending their relationship with their mom
Mhm.
before we could, before, not me, like him, mending that relationship with their mom and re-engaging them with the family.
Mm.
And so I have this photo from when that started, when they
Yes.
were like 11 years old or something, like 11, 12, that like range. I think Destiny was like 13 maybe, and Yuri was 4, whatever. I had them recreate the photo at the wedding, right?
Yeah. You had that same photo of them at 11 and 12 with Tony, their uncle. And then you took that picture again at the wedding.
Yes, yes, because it was like that photo was the first time that he was able to spend time with them, right? And they were entering into they were in their adolescence. And so now looking 12 years or 13 years later
To see
and
that one of those girls was in
is
a
in
bridesmaid in the wedding of her first cousin, that connection is really strong is pretty
mhm,
beautiful too.
mhm,
Wow. It's
mhm.
it's beautiful. I don't, I think probably a function of having moved, probably a function of just different culture, honestly. Like I did not have that experience growing up. And I don't, I was talking, I think it was to Nikki about how she said, she's like, this is like coming home. Like it feels like home wherever I am with these people. And I think that's so beautiful. And I was honored to be invited into it, to be, a witness to it. The people, took me because I was a friend of yours. I was instantly a friend of theirs too. It was really
And
lovely.
you were a huge hit. I
Yeah.
have not stopped receiving
That's sweet.
the feedback about how amazing you were and how wonderful you were and how great
Sweet.
it was for you to work with and how, like you made everyone feel so comfortable. Like people's minds were blown with the fact that you knew everybody's name.
Yeah. Well, I'm a
Like
little bit of
their
a freak
minds were
show.
completely blown. And the fact that it mattered to you, right? That it was important to you to know all of the people.
Yeah.
And that just spoke volumes about you to them.
It's very generous. Um, Relationships do matter a lot to me. And I could tell even from working with Tony for a short amount of time that relationships mattered to him and that he didn't raise this daughter by himself in a vacuum, right? That this community was important to him. But, more than that, I just think, sorry, as a white person being invited into a space that, this is a community of people of color that had grown up together. And I just really wanted to, um, make sure that I was really respectful of that I was a guest in that situation, that this was not, Laura's in charge of this thing. Like I really wanted to make sure that people, at the very least, felt like I was honored to be a part of that because I truly was. And I think that became more clear to me over the course of the weekend and seeing the way that you all interact and treated each other and the kind of history you have. And I wanted to come right.
You did.
I really
Y-
did. That mattered to me.
You came correct, Kastner.
Thanks. Thanks.
You came correct.
Yep. I was like, let me get the pronunciations right. I had a spreadsheet. Does
Of
this
course you
surprise you?
did. Of course you
Well,
did.
because we were giving gifts out to people who came. And so I was like, let me check the pronunciation on this one. Is this Luis or Lewis? Is this, you
Mm-hmm.
know, uh, Marcier or Marcy? Let me get that right, So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, it was super affirming and lovely. And I, amidst a backdrop in a culture where I feel like during DEI being a high and popular thing, a la 2020, and then now the backlash against it, I feel like, mm, oh, where was I going with that? I just totally
I
had a
don't
brain
know.
fart. I don't know. Shoot.
Also, you looked gorgeous, and
Oh,
I hope
thanks.
that we're able. Did we get any pictures of our whole bodies?
I don't think so, but that's also okay with me.
Yeah, but I think we should try to post at least a photo
I will. I
or
will. And can I
two.
put a couple with you and the kids with a little heart over their faces? Because I know
Uh-huh.
privacy matters too. But dang, that picture of you full length with that leg slit and that dress. And you just happen to be holding a little baby's hand. But I was like, what baby? Because all I
That's
see
so
is
funny.
this. You look like an Oscar, like the statue, the
Oh,
gold.
nice. Yeah.
Just beautiful.
I wanted to like be in the vibe, like the color palette of the wedding,
You did it.
you know?
Did you? I
Um,
guess you knew. Was it
yeah,
from the
I asked.
invitation? Oh, you asked. You
I
planned for that.
asked. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Also, um, this in a couple of weeks, I'm being you for an event for my friends who are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary.
Love.
And they're having like a vow renewal and a reception, and they're just amazing human beings.
Mhm.
And their colors are also gold and black.
Perfect.
And
Use
and
that
so I
dress
was
again.
like, I wanted to have a dress that I could wear to both events.
Is
and
50th golden anniversary? Is that right?
golden,
Yeah,
yeah.
perfect.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Yep, yep.
Oh,
So,
I know where I was going with that earlier thought.
okay, back
I'm
to the
back.
DEI.
Well, so, I think about our own workplace, our former workplace, right, where we were, and how there was a lot of education, a lot to around 2020, around microaggressions and implicit bias and things that suddenly were coming to the fore for some people for the first time. And how um, I remember, again, once it becomes explicit, once that becomes a part of the culture, like seeing it more and more in terms of well-meaning people, or sometimes not well-meaning, who would perpetrate microaggressions against you, against other people of color, against other, different groups of folks in our organization. And of course, seeing it handled right and handled wrong, right? Both how to repair and how to defend yourself, which is not the right
Uh-huh.
posture to take. But I guess like something that I've just been reflecting on after the weekend is, you know, I think you're a better person than me in a lot of ways, but like I think I would really struggle to trust a white person because for me, like, you know me. I mean, I'm not going to cut you off for no reason, but once you show me who you are, I'm good to create some space. And that's just how I operate. Like if you don't nobody deserves to be in my life just because of blood or because of any kind
But
of
that's also
position.
a privileged position,
Hmm.
right? Because I live in a environment in a society that is dominated by white people.
Hmm.
And so, I
You
talk
have
about,
to.
like, look at our work environment that we were in. It was mostly white women.
I never thought about that angle because where I was going with that was because I'm so careful about myself and my health and being my best self and not being around people who don't bring that out of me, that I think I'd be really quick to cut people off. And then I think that stereotype of being standoffish or cold or angry, quote unquote, right, would be really easy to apply to me. And so I hadn't thought about that as being a dimension of privilege.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I mean, and that's part of the reason I love where I live.
And that was an intentional choice on your part.
Hmm.
Did,
Because it's like, that's one element that I don't have to kind of deal with in my community every day. Like walking around my neighborhood while being Black does not get me followed and questioned.
mm,
You know, like, what do you do? What are you doing here? Or, that doesn't happen here because most of the people who are walking around are people of color.
mhm, mhm.
But in the workspace, in our work setting, that's not the
You
case.
have no choice but to.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. And it's so much more work to. It's like it's easier to be open than to trust no one. And the way in which I try to allow individual people to show me who they are is what I would encourage people to do for everyone, right? We have this tendency of stereotyping marginalized and minoritized communities and exceptionalizing individuals. You're just an exception to the rule and not
Which is a
applying,
microaggressive thing, by the
which is
way, for
right,
people to
which is a
say,
microaggressive thing.
oh, you're one of the good ones.
Right. But it's
Ugh.
like, why not assume that that's the standard and that the machine is producing a narrative that actually isn't reflective of the people. Right. And I've had some interactions, and I talk about this when I do trainings, right? Interactions with white women, but I can't stop having interactions with white women. They're everywhere. They're
Mhm.
everywhere in the kind of they're everywhere
We
in the kind of
are.
work that
God,
I
we're
do.
everywhere. Yes.
In the kind of work that I do. We do work in education spaces.
Mhm.
We know the data around who the educators are. So it doesn't behoove me or serve me to be completely untrusting and closed off. Now, I do move with caution,
Mhm.
you know, and I
And a
allowed
deep
like
sense of awareness.
and a deep sense of
Yeah, you do.
awareness. But, you know,
Well, I just know okay. So the wedding all happened this weekend and I had these amazing interactions and this beautiful picture of who you are and this community that was so loving and so accepting, which I do not take lightly, especially given that backdrop that we were just talking about. And then Lovey, I don't know if I'm saying her right. Awesomely Lovey. I love following her stuff. She's fantastic. I'll link to her stuff. But she had posted last week. Someone had asked her, I'm not trying to be controversial with this question, I promise you, but can white and black people truly be friends? And she wrote, I think it's possible. I have a few white women I consider actual friends, women I'd stand with and by, women who give me hope in a dark world. What allows us to be friends is they're actively good people who take action. They don't do fragility and beckery, and I can trust them with both my rage and my joy. They're also funny AF and a good time to be around. They feel safe. And so I was reflecting on that and just thinking about how when somebody does let you into their life, someone who could easily be harmed by you, that how important it is to see that as the honor and the rest, like to take that so very seriously and to see that as a place of honor in somebody's life. And I just wanted to like take the moment to think about that and tell you that I do, that I'm really honored by the fact that you consider me a friend, when it would have been easy to be guarded and maybe be, like I said, not as good of a person like I would have been. And again, I've not been perfect, right? We've had times where we've had to have conversations, and I just
but
really.
both in both directions,
Mhm, mhm,
right? I think one of the things that um, is we lead with our humanity first.
mhm,
And one of the things I very much appreciate about you is that you never try to tell me how I feel,
mm,
right? You know, if I share something with you about an experience, an interaction that we've had,
mhm,
or an experience that I've had that you've been on a periphery to or observed or anything, your response is never to be like, to diminish my
mm.
feelings.
I'm glad you
And
feel that way.
that's huge though, right? Because I'm able to come to you with things and you acknowledge and validate those feelings. And then we are able to have a conversation about perspectives, right? And that space that we have with each other is where the friendship is.
Mhm. Yes. You make me better.
You make me better too.
Mhm. Love you.
You know? Yeah. Love you back.
Thanks, man.
We're able to hold space for each other. And then can I please share? I think everyone, I want you to know that
I don't know where this is going. I'm really excited to see where this is going.
Laura is raising some of the most wonderful humans
Oh.
on the planet.
Oh.
Oh my God, I don't know why I'm getting all emotional.
That's me too now.
But
Are you talking about
Ellie,
my middle girl, my middle child.
the middle child is an artist. We've talked about this before on the pod.
Mhm.
She is an artist, and all your kids have huge hearts. For like you have very, very, very socially aware, compassionate, empathetic kids, who are also very smart and talented in other ways, right? But you're
Mhm.
raising these very conscientious children. And anyway, Ellie, she had made some art one day, and we were talking on either recording a pod or just talking,
Mhm.
and she showed it, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool! I want one of those." And she made me one, everyone, and she slipped it into Laura's luggage
Mhm.
because she knew that Laura was going to be seeing me.
Because she knows her mom is such a goober and can't remember to go to the post office. Send this to you. We've had this
No,
thing for months.
it doesn't
Months.
even matter. And she wrote the sweetest note on the back of that
I
thing.
didn't see the note.
I'm not going to even share it because it's mine.
No, that is for you.
But she wrote the sweetest note.
Aw.
And I showed it to Daniel, and then he like propped it up in the hotel room so it would be on display.
So cute.
And it was just like, wow.
Mm.
Our friendship is a family situation.
When you're babies, I walked Daniel and the boys to the room so you could hang out with your friends a little longer. I thought, okay, let me see if I can be helpful. As it turned out, of course, Daniel's a boss and had it all handled. But I said goodnight to all of them so they could get to sleep, brought their little warm milk. I go to the hallway, and Jay opens up the door. Aunt Lola, can you come back and play for a little longer? Baby, I would love to so much. Daddy's got this. Daddy's had a long day too. You guys get your showers, get to bed. I'm going to see you tomorrow. Okay. So now close the door real careful. Watch those fingers. So he closes the door, hear it click, and then it opens again. Aunt Lola, how about now? Can you come play now? No,
Aunt Lola.
Oh my God. As you know, Kori, but listeners may not. Like, I have one sister who does not have any kiddos, and we don't necessarily have the best relationship, even if she did. And my husband's an only child, so no one calls me Aunt Lola. No one does, except for your boys, and I treasure it. I really do. So sorry, I don't want to make this like a brag on Laura's kids situation because I didn't know you were going there, but I have to. What?
Are you going to tell the Huddy thing?
Which one?
The one that the message that you sent me. About math. The flex.
No, this one's sweeter. Yeah, he texts me at school and says, like, I got whatever it was, like 102 or something on some math assessment. He's like, this is a high school level course. I'm a 7th grader. And yes, this is a flex. Okay, so my kid might be empathetic. He definitely borders between confident and cocky at times.
Hey, he's a middle schooler. That's right. That's where
oh my God.
That's age appropriate.
I guess. I try to keep him humble.
But that is a flex, Laura.
It is a flex, and he is.
It is a flex.
Yeah.
And let's let him enjoy that flex that he
absolutely
is crushing it.
I told him flex all day. Flex all day.
That was so cute though.
I sent you the screenshot. I was like, my kid just flexed in a text. And by the way, that took a lot of work because he doesn't have a phone. So he's doing it like letter by letter on his little Apple Watch. Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah.
This is
another flex.
This is not a flex, but this is something he didn't even know I saw. But we just this week had to I wrote a bunch of cards to folks, people who lost a parent, someone who lost a grandparent, someone who found out that they have a pretty serious illness. And I told my kids, like, hey, listen, you don't have to, but if you'd like, I'm going to leave these cards on the counter for a little while if you want to add anything, because all these people are special to you in different ways, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And my youngest is like, do I have to? What do I write? You know, like how she is. She's like, can I write the same thing in all of them? Yes, you may, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Ellie struggled a little bit with what to write.
Side note, she writes something.
She absolutely did.
So it's like, even if it's the same thing, it's like, that's her way.
Yep. But for our friend who found out that they have an illness, I found this and I took a picture because I was like, I want to remember this. He wrote, I was devastated to hear the news. I'm sure it's still a shock. Just know that you have someone in your corner who can't wait for you to ring that bell after treatment. Sending love, Hudson. And I was like, he wrote that. That wasn't me.
I thought you were saying that the friend, this is what your son wrote to your friend who found out who that had an illness. This is
that is what my 12, almost 13-year-old boy wrote on his own.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying, everyone. This is what I'm saying.
Well, again, this is not a flex for Laura. This is just like, I have been gifted these incredible, like, they're just incredible. They're really cool babies. And
no, stop.
I'm not saying I take no credit for it, but I'm just saying a lot of who they are, like I said, the third one who's like, do I have to? A lot of who they are comes pre-baked. Yeah, I know.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh, there's parenting too, for sure.
It's you could have had the same people in different circumstances or have a different mentality or different way of being, and they would be different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes. All this
they would
be
different.
Yeah. Thank you for. I did not. You know, you were going to bring that up about Ellie, but I couldn't help because that was just super sweet.
That was like the sweetest thing.
I know. I
That
know.
was,
I'm
and
like, please don't
she
lose
wrote
that.
this note.
I love that. I love that she did. I don't know what was on the back, but
Yeah,
I know
I
she loves you.
have to make room in my office so I can have it. I can put it up.
Well, similarly, in the same way that I don't have nieces and nephews, they don't have cousins and aunties, right? So, or uncles. So they think of you that way too, which is a gift for them as well.
And in my family, everyone's a cousin or an auntie, right?
I know. I met all
Uncle
of them.
Tony, Aunt Elise,
Yes.
Auntie Destiny. Everybody is a cousin or an
Yes.
auntie. Grandma
Yes.
Connie. Like everybody is like, and so Giancarlo asked me the other day, he's like, Mommy, do I have any fake uncles?
Do you have
And
any
I was like, no,
uncles?
we don't have any fake uncles. Okay.
That's
Everyone around here
amazing.
is your real uncle, like, or your
That's
real aunt.
amazing.
Like, because the blood is not what makes them real.
That's right.
You know, like
That's right.
two nights ago, I was teaching my class. Daniel was held up and couldn't make it. Who showed up? Uncle Stan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And did they even notice I was missing? Absolutely not.
Mm.
Is Stan my biological brother? No, he is not. Is he Uncle Stan? 100%. All day.
Yeah.
All day. They didn't even notice I was not here, like not available. He got the dinner going. He was here within 10 minutes. I was able to start teaching the class, and Uncle Stan had it. No problem.
I'm not asking you to speak on behalf of all Black people everywhere, clearly, but is this like and now I'm like, I clearly don't speak for all white people everywhere either, but how much of this is cultural? How much of this is like how special your community was at that point in time, and this church being the center of that? Like, is this typical? Because as people who
I mean,
are
for
worn
the
out from
people that
parenting alone, like a village is what you need.
Yeah. I mean, this was typical for us. So I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
if
I know.
it's
I know.
typical for
It's a silly
everybody,
question.
right?
You can't.
But yeah, it was typical for us, and relationships are important to me,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they always have been important to me.
Yes.
And so, like, even in the church community, I did everything. I was working in like the cafe and in the sound room and in the children's church. Like, you know, I was all over the church.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to date proms together, and you know, like we were on travel teams together, and you know, our lives were connected in a lot of different ways. And then when I got to college, where I met Stan,
you guys were on a team together, which is probably
we
a
ran
huge part
track
of that.
together.
Yeah.
But like he was basically assigned to me. So I
See this girl? Take care of her.
I ran track, and my high school club coach was an Olympic coach. The men's head coach at the college that I went to was an Olympian.
That he had coached?
That he had coached. He's an Olympic gold medalist. And
that's a flex too, by the way.
And so we had that like connection, like his coach was my coach, right? In so many terms. And so when I got there, I had this special bond with that coach, who was the men's coach.
Yep.
Okay. And so he was like, you know, I could always kind of reach out to him, talk to him when I was dealing with all the racism of being on the track team.
Really?
At this white institution with white coaches and white women. And so, but he was like a safe place, right? And so when Stan got there, I was a junior, he was a freshman. The coach asked, or basically told us, like, he said, hey, this is Kori. She's going to look out for you.
You were assigned to him.
Or I was assigned to him, yeah.
In my head, it was the reverse, that he was older and you were younger, and that he was looking out for you. That's actually really cute. You were big sis.
I'm his big sister.
And look how that friendship has carried.
And you want to know the other thing that's kind of hilarious?
Yeah.
Is my biological brother, who's older than me, his birthday is October 14th.
Mm-hmm.
And my non-biological brother, who's younger than me, his birthday is October 9th. So we got these two Libras. I have these two Libra brothers. It's like similar personalities.
So you knew how to handle this.
Except the main difference was that my biological brother has a lot of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And
Libra is Libra? No, Leo is Lion. What is Libra?
No.
But we're just dabbling here.
Stanley didn't have a lot of confidence. And so that's one of the things that we helped him with. You know? It's
I love it.
You're a dope human. Let's lean into that.
Yep.
That dopeness.
I love it. Seventh sign of the zodiac. I don't know. God, I'm reading this. I thought it was normally like an animal that would go with it, but I don't know. All right, well, never mind. We go let that be. I love it. I love that you were raised in a culture, whether it be subculture or broadly, of care. You're Googling Libra, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My ability to multitask is not that strong. I'll get distracted and go down the rabbit hole of Libra and all this other stuff instead of looking at you. Okay, so we're T-minus, 18 days or something to the election? Something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I am feeling lots of anxiety, if I'm honest, but I'm trying to process that as best I can. I do want to do some volunteering before it's all over. My husband had Indigenous Peoples Day off, and so he was looking for an opportunity to volunteer, and everything was like at a certain hour of the day, or you need 2-hour training first. So he got really frustrated, but he's really feeling that same anxiety, and we're wanting to do something about it. But I'm thankful for voting early and having that done, and I've got my sticker, and at least I'm not worried that that's still ahead of me, or there's a variable that could impact that, you know? How are you feeling?
About the election?
Yeah. Like, are you as anxious as I am? You look cool as a cucumber.
I mean, I'm just, yeah, I'm really like, I'm thinking about the world.
Mm-hmm.
And, how we're just allowing individual administrations to dismantle whole ass institutions. And I'm talking about Israel, and I'm talking about the United Nations. The fact that it's like this second leader from Hamas has now been killed. Why is there bombing still going on? If that was supposedly your goal to destroy Hamas.
And why are we in Lebanon?
Why are we in Lebanon? Why are we moving into Syria? Like,
why are we sending U.S. troops now?
Why?
That part. It's scary.
Like, that's the part that's giving me anxiety. Like, the election is
small potatoes in comparison in your mind. I mean, there's certainly a connection there, right? I don't know that the policies are going to be much better, but I know that we've got to do something.
Yeah.
You're like, ugh.
But that's more what I'm thinking about, right? It's like, the chips are going to fall where they're going to fall here.
Yeah.
But we still have this larger thing that is raging. Like raging. And it's not, the scope isn't narrowing. If
anything, it's going to get bigger.
The bombardment is not being reduced.
Yep.
There are larger powers that are now being provoked and pulled in, going to be getting pulled in, right?
There's nuclear weapons in play.
There's nuclear weapons becoming in play. Like the Yemenis president said something like, basically, no one's getting through the Red Sea if you're providing anything for Israel. Which before it was like the Houthis, right? It's like this more fringe feeling kind of group. But now this is the president of the country, right? Which means that scope has shifted in terms of their position. Mm-hmm. It's not like just this one small group of militia that's disrupting it.
This is now the official state.
This is now the official stance, right? Like, that's different. And there has been zero accountability anywhere. Like, just zero accountability. So I'm thinking more about that.
I understand.
I'm about
you know,
that. And the election's important. Um, and, you mentioned something on the last pod about the kind of the long game aspect of it. But truthfully, we've been feeling the long game aspect forever. And we have been, and I say we, like Black
yeah,
folks in particular, have been feeling the brunt and the impact of empty promises. Like even things as simple as reparations, right? Um, we that's like an impossible feat, an impossible task, but we're gonna go ahead and give you Juneteenth as a holiday. Um, just like, you know,
or even worse, Corey, right? Like administrations, Jim Crow being Jim Crow laws, and heck, modern Jim Crow laws too, right? But this
like
idea of
slavery still being legal,
mhm,
right? Like it's still legal in our Constitution, because the words in the Constitution say in the 13th Amendment say that enslavement can be used as punishment for a crime.
which
So
is
that's what our prison system is,
mhm,
right? And who's in prison?
a lot of black and brown bodies because the laws have been written in a way.
Like,
Yeah,
so, it's like, I don't know. I'm thinking I'm thinking about this larger conflict, this larger level of connection, the broader ways in which we could be uniting and mobilizing as people, and that extends beyond
just
borders
us.
and just us,
Mhm, mhm.
right? And also, I really would like for Kamala Harris to be more explicit about her stance in terms of the US and what's happening abroad in the Middle East. Like, you know, I would just like her to just, I
Say it
don't
with her
subscribe.
full chest and really,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
I don't like to subscribe to like, well, let's just get her in there and
I
she's
know.
gonna, so that is like the angst that I'm feeling.
Mhm.
Is I don't want to just get her in there. I want to believe and know that that's her plan. Now, what happens when you get in there? I recognize that there are aspects of things that get prioritized, and you can't,
And intelligence that we're not privy
and
to, and all
intelligence that we're
kinds of
not privy
things.
to, and
Yep.
things that you can't move right away on, and all that kind of stuff. But I would still feel better if you could say out loud with your full chest, like, this is what I'm going to do.
And this is wrong,
And
and we are committed to,
and to
yeah.
justice,
Hmm.
especially when on the other side, you're able to criticize the horrible human about all of the injustice that he's perpetrated and not hold up any sort of mirror to the kinds of injustice that you're participating in the perpetration of across the sea. Like it's like it feels the some of the cognitive dissonance that I'm feeling is just like, are we not making the connection, or are we just willing to believe that Black faces in high places can save
Save
us?
us. Hmm.
So, because we have a really growing, serious conflict. And
Yeah.
yeah. And also I don't know, I want people to just think about all the children who have not gotten first birthdays and second birthdays and third birthdays and fourth birthdays and fifth birthdays and sixth birthdays
And the
and
young
seventh
man who was attached to an
birthdays,
IV in a hospital.
who's 20 years old, who was also helping people, right? Like, and Chris Hayes did a piece on it, and that was one of the first um Western media representations of what was happening that felt somewhat honest.
Hmm.
And we can post it, I can share it with
I'd love
you.
to see it.
Um, but it was like, but this has been going on for a year.
I
You know what
know.
I mean?
I know.
And so anyway, so it's like, the voting's going to do what the voting's going to do. And I think that people are going to be showing up to vote for sure. And I will be one of those people. Our early voting hasn't quite opened yet, or I think it's going to open this week, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you that it is small potatoes relative to the rest of the world. And we are such a pivotal actor in
Yeah,
what happens in the rest of the world. And to
which
your
is part of
point,
why I would like to
yep,
hear.
to your point, I would love to see more from her
Yeah.
on how we're going to address this for sure.
Yeah. Because
But
like seriously, to me, the United Nations is at stake, right?
Mhm.
If we're going to, and it's becoming very evident, not becoming, it's
It
very
is
evident
evident. Hmm.
that there is a double system, a double standard that is being imposed, but that just mirrors the rest of the world,
Hmm.
right? That mirrors what's happening in this country. It mirrors what's happening in Israel. Like that system of subjugation, apartheid, separation
Or US's ability to veto or
to veto,
yeah,
but right, and but there's so few players who have that ability to veto. So we could have 97% of the countries who are supporting something, and then this one country holds all this power to shut it down. That doesn't seem democratic.
agree. And I know that with Trump in there, it would be worse.
But
Right.
for who?
Uh,
Like for you?
for
For
everybody.
who? But really,
Everybody.
like let's say it for real. But for who?
Everyone who's not white and wealthy. White, male, and wealthy.
So for some people, it's already worse, right?
Mhm.
Like that's all I'm saying. There's just like, perspective really matters. And there are people who are making decisions about food and rent every single day who are working multiple jobs to just like make ends meet. And so there are people who are dying in their cars because so how could it be worse for them? There are people who are being murdered by police and aren't being held accountable for in this current situation. So like how could it be worse for them? There are people whose families are being burned alive, and when they try to go and advocate to their representatives about their experience of their family, they are being shut out, right?
I
So
agree
how
with
could
you.
it
It can't be worse for that individual, but what it could be is worse at scale. Right.
and that's why I'm saying worse for who, right? Like
I think it could scale from these isolated experiences to the carte blanche to do for all, right? So all of a sudden, if the woman who's bleeding out in her car in a southern state who can't get abortion, Trump is elected, there's a federal ban put in place. Now all of a sudden that's happening in more places, right? So it's the scaling is what concerns me, not to
mhm,
say that it's not happening anywhere right now, because it is.
mhm, mhm. And then my other question is like, and what have those who are currently holding power done who've had multiple opportunities to do things like codify Roe v. Wade? Like, where is the responsibility there? These are the things that like I know that Trump facilitated this, right? But there were Democratic presidents who had an opportunity to codify this and they didn't. And so, like, why are we putting all of the responsibility on the guy who did exactly what he said he was going to do in this respect when we have other people who could
Mhm.
have prevented him from being able to do this in the first place? Which takes me back to my first thing about I want to hear with your whole chest what your plans are. Because this Roe v. Wade thing, although he is responsible for the shift, he was given the space to do it
Right. Right. Hmm.
and had someone else who said that they represented and cared about women done that part, which would have prevented him from being
Hmm.
able to do
Hmm.
this, then we wouldn't even be here. And we're
You're
not
right.
ever talking about that part.
I think you're right that there are lots of people who could cumulatively have put us in so much better of a place.
And so that's why my hat is
Mhm.
not hanging on her.
No, no, no. I
You
don't
know what I'm saying? Like
she's no savior.
she's no different.
I don't know if I'd say that. I can't say that. But I don't put my hopes for the saving of the world in one person's hands. That's for sure. But for me, I think our opportunity to even choose a leader in the future is jeopardized with him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Right.
it's like when people think about terms like the lesser of two evil, I think it depends on what you consider to be evil. Right.
Mhm.
And it's like, I don't know. I was watching something that with that Most Def shared, and it was like godly people act godly,
Mhm.
and we're not seeing any of that. And this place that we live in is sick, and the people in it are sick, and the way in which we move is sick. And all anyone is talking about is making us sicker or putting a band-aid on a gaping wound.
Mm.
And we're looking at the same people over and over and over again to carry us home, to carry us through. And that's the Black community, Black
Black women.
women. And it's like, bro, when are the promises that you're making to us going to be kept? Like this idea of people bleeding out in their cars, like we know that the um the maternal, what is it? It's like the
Maternal
Black
mortality.
mortality rate, women mortality rate has always been higher. But we also know that gynecology in this country was developed on experiments based on experiments on enslaved women
Mhm.
without their permission or consent, right? That surgeries and things were happening with no anesthesia to us, right? And so when it was a thing that my community was facing, no one seemed overly concerned. But now that this is something that's bleeding out into a larger scaled
Scale.
community,
Yep. Hmm.
so this is like where some of my stuff is coming from, right? It's like you only care about it when it could potentially impact you. So we're scared about Trump because people who have not had the impact of some of the other things now see themselves being impacted. But so that's why my question is like, worse for who? Because some people have been carrying the brunt of the elitist
Mhm.
way of policy that we have running in our country for a really long time. And so it's like, it doesn't matter who's sitting in that office seat because I'm always going to be carrying the weight no matter
That's where I
what.
was going with the whole, even generations ago and past leadership, right? That is a unique experience for people of color and people who are marginalized. That it's allowed to happen essentially regardless of who's in the chair. And I think that's what you're getting at, right? Yep, she's shaking her head, folks. I got a vertical head shake
Yes,
again.
that's what I'm getting at.
Yes,
That's what I'm
and
getting
I
at.
understand that. And I don't believe that it would not get worse for people of color and marginalized people under him. I think that's entirely possible.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I don't
Yep,
disagree with that.
yep, yep.
I don't disagree. That's all. It's like, I just want,
I think you're bringing some nuance to it in terms of the degrees of bad, as opposed, which I appreciate and I understand.
yeah,
But I think we're at the same conclusion on what the choice is right now in this moment.
yeah, yeah,
And I think we both don't put the weight of all of the hopes and dreams on this one thing, but I think it's of consequence for sure.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, about
Yeah,
that.
about that. Anywho.
All right, what else do we want to talk about before we wrap? Anything light we want to end with, Kori?
Well, not just something light. I think that our friendship is one of the examples of how our beings are tied together,
Mm.
right? And like, you know, one person can make an impact. Like you came to this wedding and you got to see a aspect of my life that you had never seen before, but it
Mhm.
also illuminated for you that other people who happen to be Black could also be having these same kinds of experiences,
Mhm.
right? And so imagine if we as a collective are able to do more of that humanity seeking and
Mhm.
humanity seeing and recognizing the nuance and the shared beliefs and values. Like, one of the things that was so wonderful about that wedding is that people were coming from all different kinds of walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing but love at the center of that space. People were dancing with each other that they didn't know, talking, making
Mm-hmm.
small talk at the bar, on the dance floor, in the, like all the places. There was just all of these different opportunities for people to connect. And that is more of what the world should be like.
Mm.
And I'm grateful that I have a friend in you that is open to the exploration, and that I'm open to the exploration,
Mm-hmm.
and in seeing the qualities and the shared values and shared beliefs that so many of us possess, while also not having to agree about everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And that those are the pieces that I think we could all be better at.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Seeking opportunities to understand, to experience, to watch, right? To just take it all in and process, and then think about, what are my takeaways? What are my next steps? How do I
Yeah.
communicate back? And being it's more than respectful. It's more than respectful about disagreement. It's really trying to understand that perspective and acknowledging the validity of it, even if it's not yours.
Even if it's not yours. Yeah. And being like, yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that, but I hear
Yeah.
what you're saying. And I'm
Yes.
not going to diminish what you're saying because I don't agree.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think of the improv, like the yes and, like, yep, I agree with all you said, and here's my take,
Yeah.
right? The building on as opposed to cutting down and
Yeah.
undermining what somebody else
Yeah.
thinks. I love
Yeah.
that. Love that.
And I think that one of the things that's nice about our way of being together is that we do prioritize process over productivity or product,
Mhm.
right?
The messy middle, kind of working
The
through
messy
it.
middle, like, and we have these conversations where we're just kind of going back and forth, and they feel around, and I'll repeat what I think I heard and you'll repeat what you think you heard, and we'll name some of the things that are lingering, and that helps us to be able to advance the conversation,
Mhm.
right? So that is kind of where I'd want to leave it. It's like, don't shut off. We're having conversations about the election, and we don't fully agree because our lived experiences are
Mhm.
requiring that we process things differently, right?
But we still process
But we're still
together.
processing, and we can process it together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Because we're creating that space for each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank y'all for listening to Pushing Past Polite, where we talk about what matters and make the world more just. I'm Kori.
And I'm Laura.
Why are you whispering?
I don't know. It felt like Delilah of me. Delilah.
Oh my God.
We should also, can we do a little Easter egg, like something about saying hi to Tremaine?
Yes.
Okay, while we were also at the wedding, we met an amazing AV guy who thought that we were really funny. He
He was
thought I was
adorable.
funny first, and then he met Kori and was like, oh, this is
You
really
two
fun.
together?
And we were like, we have a podcast. And he went back and then just started texting us. Like, he was all up in the back catalog. And we just want
Yeah.
to say hi to Tremaine.
Hey, Tremaine.
Hey, dude.
Thanks for the chocolate bar. That's it. Thanks for the
That's it.
chocolate bar.
Thanks for the chocolate bar, Tremaine. I love it.
Thank you for listening to Pushing Past Polite, where we talk about what matters and make the world more just. I'm Kori.
And I'm Laura. Take care.
See you soon.
And vote.
Vote.
Vote, vote, vote.
Thanks for listening to Pushing Past Polite. We encourage you to go deeper in your trusted spaces and find new space for good conversation.
You'll find episodes, transcripts, and lots of other goodies at our website, PushingPastPolitePodcast.com. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Pushing Past Polite.
Pushing Past Polite is an independent podcast with Kori and Laura from Just Educators.
Our cover art was designed by Rachel Welsh Deiga of Deiga Designs, and our audio is produced by Keith at Headset Media. Until next time, don't get stuck talking about the weather. Push past polite.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Jay, you did perfect.